Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. The Avalanche's Nathan MacKinnon signs the richest deal in NHL history. How will his new deal impact the stars and teams around the National Hockey League?
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Kardasco along with Chris Golick here in Las Vegas, the city of the WNBA champion, Las Vegas Aces. Great celebration last night. Chris Golick, he is at TD Chris G on Twitter. I am at Tony Dasco. And make sure that you please subscribe to Locked On VGK on YouTube, where we're getting all sorts of fan notifications. It's awesome. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate all of the nice comments you're making about me personally. Chris, right now, the NHL...
Not saying anything yet.
Okay.
Not saying
I was just waiting.
I'll throw it out there. Don't worry.
Right now, I wanted to be first, here to get off first, as they say in boxing, right? Right now, the NHL salary cap is set at $82.5 million for the upcoming season. And that is up $1 million from last season. Still not competitive when you look at things in the grand scheme of things, as far as not competitive compared to other salaries in other major sports and salary caps, if they even have them in some other major sports. And Nate MacKinnon yesterday signed a reported deal, an 8-year contract. He gets term. It's over $100 million, $100.8 million. AAV was 12.5 or 12.6 million, I should say. Yes, he does deserve this kind of salary, this kind of money. He comes off of that 7-year contract, and on the heels of that, the 8-year contract will kick in at the end of 2023. I feel this could be some sort of a dangerous precedent if you put more or less all your eggs into one basket, right? And how can you pay other players outside of your top 6 if you have salaries like this? I guess, we saw where MacKinnon, came out, and you had some notes, and McDavid, Connor McDavid too. He signed a $12.5 million contract. That's where he's at. So a little one-upmanship, if you will. So MacKinnon comes in at 12.6. But is this a dangerous precedent to pay just one of your players a bulk of your salary? A little over 10, close to 10, over 10%, right? Of what your salary cap might be.
Oh, yeah, it's probably closer to about 15 when the dust settles,
15,
without pulling the calculator out. So again, you can see half of my Marc-Andre Fleury back there with the Blackhawks colors. That's my original, love and stuff like that. And the Blackhawks, I think, were one of the teams to, kind of start this path. You looked at the contracts at the time of Kane, Taves, Seabrook, Duncan Keith, and even Marian Hossa there. And the Blackhawks found a way to, whether it was using what is now the Patrick Kane rule, which also famously the Golden Knights tried to use last year with Mark Stone, that rule being where a player is on LTIR, it will not count against them in the playoffs. So there's a lot of creativity that needs to be done. And the Blackhawks, for a long period of time, were able to rattle off 3 Stanley Cups in a period of 6 or 7 years while having a lot of that money on the top end. But I don't think any one of those players is or was at the time over a $10 million player. And also at that time, to be fair, the salary cap, I think, was lower than what it is now. So maybe the cap gymnastics were very similar with the Blackhawks then to what Colorado is about to experience with MacKinnon. Is it putting all your eggs in one basket? As you state, it's putting a lot of the eggs in the basket. No doubt about that. And well, that's one of the reasons Nazem Kadri could not return to Colorado, because MacKinnon was going to get paid more. I don't have a reference to cite here, but I don't know if it was either during a broadcast, a Twitter, from someone notable, but I thought MacKinnon was pretty much on record saying he didn't necessarily want to be the highest paid player in hockey. Just his fair wage, so to speak, however you want to interpret that. So the fact that he did get this contract is a little bit interesting. I think he's at the point now where maybe he's trying to make up for his previous contract, which certainly was not necessarily as equitable to him as this one is now. As far as what this means for the league and stuff, this is where it gets kind of interesting. And it's the mix of doing what's best for your current team, because the more you get paid, the less money someone else can get paid. And also your responsibility to the rest of the players in the league. Every time someone gets, paid, it goes into that average pool, and all the players are looking around at that. If MacKinnon took $9 million just to give a hometown discount, now all of a sudden another player who is in that level or knocking on that door, they are financially impacted by that contract in a negative fashion if he doesn't take as much money. So the whole thing is very odd and interesting. And I think this is going to make it very tough for Colorado to remain that powerhouse for a long period of time.
So back in the early 2000s, right, most of the good teams had the highest paid players, because you used to be able to spend whatever a general manager wanted to spend, like you're talking about, your Blackhawks back in the day. And right now, you have to get the feeling, if you are paying players this amount of money, you can't have as much depth. You cannot have as much quality depth on a team. It just can't happen. And again, I have to point to the top six, and just keep in mind as well that under the current salary cap structure and the CBA that they signed, you can't have a player make more than, I think the cap limit is 20% of the cap. So you can, the most you can make is 20%.
Okay, that's a lot of money, but yeah. The Blackhawks, just a slight correction before someone crushes my partner Anchorman Tony here. Anchorman, you like that? There it is.
I like that.
Before someone crushes you with that, Tony, the Blackhawks, I think that was around the start of the salary cap era, which makes what they did extremely remarkable during that time, and the work of the general manager and supports from the ownership and such like that. So and now you look at, let's look at Tampa for a second and what they've done. They do have a lot of top end talent. Obviously, Kucherov gets paid pretty well, and Stamkos and Hedman, and we can go on Vasilevsky as well. So there are ways to find quality, support players, if you will, after your top tier talents. Going back to the first VGK unsustainable model, they didn't have that top end talent. I mean, they had James Neal at the time in year one, which I guess you can kind of put in that category. And of course, William Karlsson, who could forget, at least based on his goals, not his AAV at the time. Now it's his AAV and not his goals, which is probably a bigger problem, but we'll talk about that in another show, I'm sure. And now the Golden Knights, they're trying their hand at this poker game of having high salaries and then having the right blend of bottom six type players and such. And that's one of the reasons Phil Kessel, that lottery ticket was scratched for Phil Kessel. Keno ticket. Lottery is illegal. I'm sorry. Why we got that Keno ticket? Why we got that $1.10 spotter over at stations trying to hit that $1 million jackpot? So it's a lot of fun watching all this work out. I think MacKinnon deserves to get paid. I think he did the right thing in getting paid for himself. And his last contract was $6.8 million. I was just looking at that while you were talking earlier. So if you average all that out, it's all going to work out just fine for MacKinnon.
Okay, reading off of my Anchorman teleprompter here. Remember all those free agents, Chris, that were out there in the off season. Just something that I found was that there were 13 contracts that were signed, including MacKinnon's now, where you had the structure of those contracts for 6 or more seasons. So 13 contracts at 6 or more, so you have term, but also among those 13, a lot of those, the AAV for those 13 contracts over 6 years, AAV was over $6 million. So they're getting term, they're getting length, and they're starting to pay in that. I think sometimes, when I think in hockey terms, I feel that a $10 million contract is an awful lot, right? And now we're at 12.5. Will they go up to that 20% threshold? Is anyone worth the 20%?
Is any player worth 20%? I mean, if I'm
of the
only
cap.
gonna
Yeah,
if I'm only gonna value them as their talent, I mean, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, then Nathan MacKinnon right behind, and I'm sure I could probably go on and on, but are they worth that much as far as what the because we're talking basically what a 16 $17 million player, I think, by that math, if 20% is the limit for a singular player. um, but if we're going to factor what that does to the team long term, that's where the problem comes. And for a while there was like a way around this. I want to say like in the early 2000s where these players were signing like these 15-year contracts and
correct.
things like that. So it
Yes.
lowered the AAV, but they still got paid. And then all they wanted to do was finding a way to trade the remaining contract to like the Arizona Coyotes or something like that. I think is Pavel Datsyuk still a member of the Coyotes right now? I gotta check and see if he's still getting that contract with the Coyotes or not.
That's funny. He's got the Bobby Bonilla structured contract, and MacKinnon just 27 years old. What about rewarding some of the players based on what they've already done? Rather than, I think the current trend now, when you go back and you look at salary caps and all that, they're paying a lot of money to players, to the younger players, right? And they're rolling the dice on the future for these younger players. I think that that's a growing trend that we have to keep an eye on when it comes to salary cap and structure in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, it's interesting. You definitely. I mean, just kind of not necessarily from the salary cap, but Brad Marchand just speaking about younger players. He fired one across the bow to Montreal, basically. Some along the lines of young captains with not a certain amount of games being named to the captaincy, like right after Nick Suzuki got named, former VGK Nick Suzuki named the captain up in Montreal. So just kind of another, yeah, exactly, just kind of another thread towards the younger players and stuff. But yeah, I mean, at some point you got to gamble on these younger players because somebody is willing to. Some general manager is willing to take a shot in some of these younger players. And if you don't, I mean, especially the younger players, they're the ones who want the money the most. I mean, not as a whole. Maybe there are some that think a little bit differently, but there are a lot of players looking at their first 7-figure contract ever. So, if maybe they're only worth, 1.2 or 1.3 as far as their output goes, but as they grow, it might get better, then sure, they're going to look at that. And, maybe not a huge example, but Nick Waugh, I thought that Nick Waugh, was a bit overpaid based on his outputs, but at what he might be if he does become that 2022 goal scorer, which is probably where BGK views him, lines pending, and obviously a lot more to that than simply dollars and cents. But if Nick Waugh does put up 20-ish goals for a period of time, $3 million is a bargain. Um, I don't necessarily think that's sustainable. Kelly McCrimmon quote, I don't think that's necessarily sustainable for Nick Waugh, but I hope he proves me wrong. And that one day I put that tweet about Nick Waugh getting paid too much and I got crushed. I hope that backfires against me and not everyone that disagreed with me.
Okay, so I'm a horse player, and we have past performances in the daily racing form. Okay, and that's how I make my bets based on past performances. They are betting in Vegas terminology on the come to try to figure out if a player, uh, they're making a futures bet, right? In players and in the future of players now, more so than based on what they've done in the past, as you were saying. So the cap goes up just $1 million this season, which again,
It's a
like,
pinch.
yeah, comparatively speaking, it's not growing the way you feel it should be growing. When you look at, it's not proportionate to what we see in other leagues, for sure, major
It's not
sports.
a bad thing, Tony, but go ahead. I'll jump in a second. Keep
Yeah,
going.
but so the salary cap, they say, will jump up exponentially in 23, 24, maybe by 25. And again, the salary cap, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm not really an expert in this field either, like everything else. Uh, it's based on revenue fluctuations. Okay. So they are projecting that the revenues will be greater, higher. All they need is one really banger TV deal that sets this league over the top where they can then take money and expand the salary cap, right?
Well, ESPN is not the place then, because we know about ESPN's financial troubles. So I don't know how that's going to help the league long term. But
and also not good broadcast. Okay, I had to take
yeah,
shots.
that's
Shots fired.
I
Shots
understand. I
fired.
understand. I understand. I had a first point I was going to go, but I just want to jump in. You mentioned being a horse player. You ever bet Maywood? You ever bet the harness? The
Yeah,
harness. So do you know what the trick is at Maywood?
the
You remember
Trotters.
the Trotters? What you should bet
Pretty
at
much.
Maywood?
Well, what I do is I bet horses that have that early speed because you're twice around the
Yeah,
oval.
yeah. So no, Maywood 1, 2, 3 try box.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3 try box all day. Just go to there at all 12, 13 races. One,
I'm
two, three
going.
try box. Sit back and have a few and enjoy it there. So back to the salary cap and comparing to other leagues and such. The NHL, if they can do this, I'm sure the NHLPA is going to fight this. Try to raise the salary cap more to get the players paid whenever the next CBA comes up. But baseball is in a dangerous spot, especially with their attendance and their contracts right now. Angels, you got Ohtani and Trout, and you can't even be competitive into this stage of the year. Another story for another time. You'll do a crossover with the Angels team one of these days. Basketball. I mean, what does Steph Curry make? It's like 40 million. It's some stupid number like that. And I don't mind him getting that number, because if he's not getting paid that amount of money, it's going to the owners. So I'm okay with the players getting paid whatever they can. But at some point, folks, that bubble will pop. And then all of a sudden, the owners don't have money, the players don't get paid, and at some point the fans and attendance struggle because the ticket prices get to this point where even the richest of the rich going to the Staples Center just say F this, I'm done. That could certainly happen at some point. So I think hockey is doing it right as long as they can keep fighting off the NHLPA whenever the CBA comes to keep raising the cap, because the NHL is in a good place, right? You look at the attendance in most of the arenas, things are going well. There's a few, trouble spots, Buffalo being one, had to take a shot at the Sabres, but, things are going well across the league as a whole. You look at, the energy and excitement and financials that supports the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and things are in a good place with the NHL, and they can be for a really long time. But comparing to basketball, an $86 million salary, 82, 83, whatever it is, in the next couple of years versus what happens in basketball is a very interesting spot. And at some point, there's going to be a big push and pull amongst the owners and the players to get a higher salary cap. As long as they can keep the salary cap in a reasonable place, hockey will continue to grow the right way. If we get to the point where we start giving out these Steph Curry contracts or Bobby Bonilla contracts, obviously taking into account inflation and such like that, that's when the game starts to head down a slippery slope.
Okay, now I'm going to share a story about a salary, a major salary. You talked about Steph Curry, but this past summer did an event that's my business outside of whatever, being an anchorman.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm just grabbing some food. We have this little activation going on, NBA players hanging out everywhere. And I'm going to grab my food outside of the main room and just go in the back, eat, and then get back to work, fix things, whatever we do, right? All of a sudden, Damian Lillard says, I have a very important phone call to make. Very important. Can you just leave this room in the back? No problem, Dame. You are Dame. You are Dame Dime. No problem whatsoever. Leave the room. Later that afternoon, I mean, he was sweating bullets, and he was a very important phone call. Yeah, it's cool, man. You don't have to ask, just run me over. I'm just a guy eating my lunch. Okay, so come to find out later that afternoon, it was leaked out. Damian Lillard, 2 years, $122 million. If I didn't leave the room, it was never going to happen. It's never going to happen, Chris.
I just looked up Steph Curry's contract while we were talking. It's actually in the same ballpark. I mean, again, I'm for the players getting paid, because if the players can afford to get paid that by the owner feels they're making enough money with the gate, with the revenue, with endorsements, with sponsorships. So I'm okay with that. But at some points, the bubble pops, and the NHL to date is doing a good job of trying to make sure that does not happen. As these Nathan MacKinnon, contracts and stuff start happening, we get a little closer to that, and that could hurt the long-term longevity of the game. But right now, I think we're still in a safe place.
Okay, and we know about VGK and their cap circumvention. That's what they're really good at.
Roulette.
It is roulette. too. Coming up next, in Las Vegas, is all that glitters gold? Talk about that after this. You're listening and watching Locked On Golden Knights. BetOnline.net, your fastest, your easiest way to check in on all of your sports betting needs. Find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, for lines, for games. Find reviews and news for each and every league, including the National Hockey League, starting up today as teams now return to camp. Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you all covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back from Las Vegas, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick, and thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Our podcasts are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On VGK. Tweet at us at Locked On VGK as well. We've got a lot of good comments in there, better than we get on YouTube. So, Chris, I had shots fired all day. So I wanted to talk, okay, the home jersey, and you are a season ticket holder for VGK and for Henderson, but let's talk about VGK for a moment. The new sweaters, the new home jersey will be gold. Mr. Blackwell, what are your thoughts?
I'm fine with it. So the gold jerseys on the shelf, I wasn't a fan. The gold jerseys, even on TV, it kind of took a second, but for me, the gold jerseys really set in once I saw them in person at T-Mobile Arena. I think the Circa sponsor looks good because it's got the kind of gold background, so it kind of blends in really well. And I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for everything that's Vegas, that's, in lack of a better term, kind of making fun of itself at times for just being out there and things like that and going over the top. And I mean, a gold jersey, gold helmets. I know you love that, Tony, and all of that stuff, whether they combine that for just to make everyone's, just go ballistic. It'd be awesome just to watch the social reactions if they did the gold on gold. But it's fun. The pregame intro is fun, and all the cheesiness is fun. And Blue Man Group working the crowd, during intermission or between whistles. All that stuff is fun, and that's what makes being in Vegas. That's what makes Vegas Vegas. And for the people that are all sour about the gold jerseys and things like that, just relax, just loosen up a little bit, enjoy yourself.
Okay.
Have a $16 margarita. Well, no, probably more than that. I think it's 20, but yeah.
Yeah, they need to lower some of those prices, like we
That's
talked
fair.
about.
No, that's
like
definitely
Allegiant
fair.
Stadium. Yeah, and they unveiled those jerseys, I think, in 2020. So it wasn't like from day one that we saw the gold jerseys here. I've got to tell you, talked about the gold buckets. Did you see where they have those shiny buckets for several teams now in NHL 2023? Have you seen that? NHL 23?
No, I get that game every year, and I haven't had a chance to really check out the trailer yet. But that's the thing, like, those trailers and stuff, they leak like what the center ice images are going to be and some information about the jerseys and things like that. So it's fun. It's fun. I don't know how it's going to come through on TV if you go chrome on chrome or chrome on gold, so to speak, but we'll see. I think were the Kings the first team to officially do the chrome domes, and then the Golden Knights?
I think the Golden Knights were.
I thought they wore them for an outdoor game. I thought the Kings wore them for like one of the Stadium Series games or something like that against Anaheim.
Yeah,
I
but
could be
now
wrong on
I
that.
think the Golden Knights wear them more frequently than the Kings.
Oh, no doubt about that. And I would think the Silver Knights are probably, and again, I'm just shooting at the hip right now, but the Silver Knights, their home official helmet has been, the Chrome Dome, so to speak. So, it's fun. It's interesting. It's out there, and I like it.
We had a question yesterday on Twitter that you might want to address. Someone asked, and we know that you're a big Silver Knights fan and a season ticket holder as well. How do you watch AHL games? How do you follow the Silver Knights? And I think that was a valid question yesterday.
I mean, shout out Locked On, get me some credentials and I can really follow them for you. But going past there, AHL TV is the only way. You'll get some games that are picked up locally, Channel 8 or something like that. Forgive me for not having a better answer than that, but some of the games are picked up on our local programming is the way to say that. But AHL TV is the only way to consistently get to watch them. But folks, I'll warn you, I'm not going to endorse AHL TV in the sense that don't expect to see what you see on AT&T for the Golden Knights. It's no different than what Tony said. It's no different than the one camera. A lot of times you got a lot of this going on as they're fouling the play and things like that. And it's
that rookie
that's
game.
true.
I'm still nauseous from the rookie face.
I'm not centered now. I lost my center. This is gonna drive me nuts. Look at this.
I'm still nauseous from that. I'm so nauseous.
I'm on AHL TV, folks.
I couldn't watch that. I couldn't watch.
But that's how a lot of
the rookie face off.
Yeah, that's how a lot of the broadcasts are now. Here's something that is interesting about the broadcast that I actually kind of enjoy in some strange way. When it is between whistles, the cameras usually just go right to center ice or even during intermission. So you actually get an opportunity. They show like the Zambonis and stuff, going across, for example. There's no sound, or there's sound, but there's like no discussion or anything like that. But you get a chance to kind of see what they do between whistles with the fans and stuff, what their activations are, what their goofiness is, because it's basically the same camera that they sometimes show on their local Jumbotron and things like that. So from that perspective, it's interesting. From an entertainment perspective, if you want to sit down and really dial in and watch a hockey game, some of the broadcasts, you will have a team, you will have announcers and things like that, and it's not bad. You'll have actually, 2, 3, 4 camera angles. But a good chunk of it is one camera at center, at center ice. You hope you have an experienced camera person working it, because a lot of times it looks like someone, and Tony, I think we've talked about this before, it looks like someone, for their high school AV team that's out there doing it on an internship at times, trying to keep up with the puck. You don't get a good, view of shots coming from the point and things like that. It's kind of hard to see who scores and when. So this is an opportunity that the AHL has to grow the game, and but it costs money, and a lot of the AHL teams, they only draw a few thousand fans a game, and the Silver Knights, hopefully in their first full season at the Dollar Loan Center, will be on the upper side of that. So yeah, I mean, AHL TV is out there. It's not that expensive. I think it's less than $100 for the year. It could even be 30 or 40 bucks for the year, something like that. So if you want a taste of it, fine. But I don't know if it's the taste that, expect McDonald's, not a good steakhouse, as far as what kind of taste it's going to be left in your mouth.
Yeah, it's going to be
with the stomach
cool.
problems.
I think a lot of fans are excited about Henderson, with all the prospects there, and it's
going to be a lot of fun down there.
I think it's going to be
a lot of fun.
Fun on the farm. Yeah, it should be pretty good.
Fun on the farm. Ooh, that was good.
What do you think about the new logo at center ice? Again, gold is the focus here, folks, and they set up a new logo, center ice logo for VGK, unveiled it. We saw some pictures, renderings in the past over the summer. Nothing's a secret anymore, but they have this like funky font that I don't know that I could get used to. And it's supposed to maybe look like retro cool, to where it's like a medieval sort of a logo font. I don't know. Lukewarm. I want to see it in person before I make any determination on whether I like it or not.
I'm literally looking at the tweet right now. They're showing their shots from Hyde. Okay, they're watering the concrete.
Is it worth a video? I mean,
here it comes. Here it comes. Hold on, Tony. I'm almost there.
I try to get a photo of it just to
see the weird font. Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, as long as it comes through on camera. So I thought it was either season 2 or season 3. There was a lot of black paint around the center ice logo. So when you had the black jerseys going across, it was a very strange visual. So now the first thing I see, folks, our home jersey this year is that gold jersey. And there's a lot of gold in the background of this. So I certainly hope it comes through on TV, and, with the white and the gold, you have all those light colors coming together. Hopefully our high school AV team that runs the AHL cameras is not the ones that are going to be spinning the dials and trying to make this look good, but it looks fine. I mean, my kid's really into looking at the center ice logos. He likes seeing it every year. He likes talking about it and processing and things like that. So once I show it to him, I think that's probably a better, Chris, you out there? Come here really fast. Hurry up. Or Allie too. Hold on, folks. We're in segment 2. We're going to wing it already, folks. In segment 2, we're going to wing it. Hurry up.
Okay, I've got it while we're waiting for them. New to those jerseys, those gold jerseys, and otherwise, this season, Chris, they're going to have the patches on the jerseys this year. That's something that's new, and I saw the going rate on the streets for sponsorship of those. Whew, is it pricey?
Yeah, that's how MacKinnon got paid. All right, guys. So, what's your first reaction on the center ice logo for T-Mobile? What do you think? Talk loud so the mic can. You like it?
Yeah.
Is it better than the other ones?
Yeah.
What do you think, Allie?
Way better.
You think it's way better?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
Why is it better?
Curious. Why?
Because it's a different one that I never seen before.
Okay.
It's a different one that she's never seen before. Chris, you remember the all black one a couple of years ago. Did you like that one? Or you like this one better? You like the gold better?
Yeah. One of my favorite parts about starting the seasons is just seeing what the logo is on the ice.
I just called that, Tony. I just told you that. See?
That's awesome.
I told you. He likes seeing the logos on the ice. That's what he's excited about.
Cool. And there's training camp today.
Very cool.
And he just said there's training camp today. So we're in the know.
Yeah, it seriously is.
Seriously, Dad? Seriously. Yeah. Do they is that font something that came out of the Crayola box?
I don't know, Tony. I don't know. It maybe on MacKinnon's paycheck.
Yeah, I guess they have the road patches sold. I think that might be Circa. But at home.
Well, home is Circa. Home gold is Circa. That was on like the upper deck cards I saw.
Not
maybe
from what
wrong?
I gathered. Yeah, not from what I gathered.
Oh, okay. All right.
That might be the road.
Maybe that was just like a visual they did for
just
whatever,
a mock-up
yeah.
perhaps. Yeah, but it's very, very pricey because that came across the desk and I saw how much it is for sponsorship for that, and it's not cheap.
No, definitely not.
Coming up next, we have a little trip down memory lane as PK Subban yesterday announced his retirement. Back with more after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick, his kids live. Not live. We're live now, but we are in Las Vegas. And thanks so much for joining us as always and making us your first listen each and every day. Podcast free and available wherever you get your podcast. And please subscribe. He's got to put those kids through college to our YouTube channel.
I got paid for my kids' hockey. Let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness. We got to get into that someday and how expensive that is, because I get
no doubt I wanted it. That's a what the everyday, not just what the Friday, but go
ahead. What the everyday. Okay, so PK Subban retired yesterday, and we take a trip down memory lane because there is that one game that he played here in Las Vegas that is a memorable one in this long-lasting VGK history. PK Subban and Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. So they were in front of the net. Subban took a shot on net. I think Fleury might have been in net that night. And then some chaos ensued after that because Subban did a takedown from behind of Bellemare, in front of the crease. And then what happened after that is really bizarre because
he fish hooked him.
Well, yeah, he fish hooked him. Okay. He bit him. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare bit the pinky finger of PK Subban. Do you remember that game? You remember that night?
Let's see. Can we get it?
Okay.
So that was the billboard that was right outside Thomas and Mack. Bellemare bit my finger and it really hurts. And a picture of Subban. And I could be wrong, but I thought the rumor has it Bellemare actually paid for that too. But that's something I can try and.
No, it wasn't. It was Jonathan from the local bar group. Let me think about it here. Go ahead.
Okay, good. That's news. I didn't know that. But either way,
I had him on my radio
awesome,
show
no matter
too.
Who did that?
Yeah.
So just like thinking back about that, Subban did something dumb that Subban does a lot of, and he basically, in whatever scrum that happened, he fish hooked Bellemare. He friggin' like fish hooked him.
Yeah, so that's the owner of the Parkway Taverns.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, good. And they didn't even put their name on the billboard, so props to that, I guess, for putting that out there and getting people talking without putting their name out there. Good marketing. That's interesting. I like stuff like that. But so he fish hooks him. And what is your reaction, Tony, if you're in a scrum and someone just starts doing that? You bite down. That's not even like something you think about. That's just the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to chop down, and then Bellemare right away is crying like Evander Holyfield when Tyson, bit part of his ear off. Like, you had that tight. Holyfield didn't have it coming, but Bellemare had that one coming, and he tried to make a big deal. And I do remember the post-game interviews, and like a lot of times players try and, they skirt the questions when something kind of controversial happens. I haven't seen a replay yet, or I don't know, or it was a bang bang play. Like, they just blow it off. And he's like, no, he stuck his finger in my mouth and I bit him. Like, he owned the whole thing. And I think that's the best way to go, because on a serious note, I'm sure the league will investigate, or did investigate, just to, see what, why, when, and how, and all that stuff. And at some point, Shanahan or whoever is in charge of player safety now, they're like, dude, you had it coming.
Yeah, and then Ryan Reeves tried to clean up after that. Remember, he goes after PK Subban.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy thing about that incident was that Malcolm Subban was still with the Golden Knights.
So he's just sitting on the bench chatting with probably the trainer, and turns around. He's like, I've seen this happen before. This is don't look at me, guys. This happens before. Go kick his blankety blank.
Yeah. So, but PK Subban's doing a pretty good job now as an analyst. He's got a TV career ahead of him. I think they're going to utilize him a lot more. It is Jonathan Fine. Sorry about that, Jonathan, but I was just spur of the moment here first.
I'm glad you had that down. That's good.
Yeah, and it's he does have all the Parkway Taverns, PBR Rock Bar, all of those. And I had him on my radio show, and why he did that, and just really clever and spur of the moment. But
let's get him back. Let's get him back on. That'd be fun. Let's get him on.
On why he did that, maybe on the anniversary when that comes up. But Nashville won that game. By the way, I think it was a 2-1 final, if I recall correctly. But it was pretty interesting. And so now we've got all these retirements. We've got the largest and richest deal, Nathan MacKinnon. It's funny how they go up, to 12.6 from McDavid's 12.5 million to make him the richest paid.
Yeah, you got to think like stuff like that. I want to see the text that happened right after that between those two. I'm sure like Connor McDavid really, and then is MacKinnon an LOL? Does he type out LOL, or does he type out LOL and then tap on the emoji for the smiley face? Let's get a poll. What do you think?
That's funny.
Segment 3, folks. Segment 3.
McDavid's spending a lot of that money in the offseason on his girlfriend, I'm sure, trying to.
Well, there's some videos that emerged where he might have more than one, but that's another story for another time.
Chris, again, you are off the next couple of days here this week and the next week, and I'll be on Friday. I don't know when, whatever, but I think we're doing a crossover with the Colorado Avalanche, which will be interesting now.
Good timing, Tony.
Happened there. Yeah, we're good on that. Other things, not so good. Being an anchor man on the show, not so good. Do you want to explain what that means?
Folks, comments on YouTube. It's we enjoy the comments, good, bad, or otherwise. And
just spell my last name correctly, for crying out loud.
I think you spell your first name wrong too, but just like this is fun what we do, and I don't take myself seriously. Tony sure as heck doesn't take himself seriously, but we have fun and we do this for fun. We get paid not even enough for a Starbucks a day. For full disclosure on what this is worth to us, we're taking our time out. We're having fun. If you want to bash it, fine. But, just understand why we're out here doing what we do. It's fun. If you like it, cool. If you don't, cool. But either way, thank you for being here.
From a man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. Make sure that you listen to us first every day. Second listen, Locked On NHL. We'll see you again this week right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.